All right, thanks everyone for joining the Impact Room session. And I believe we all heard of the mental wealth, this word, right? But today, we are going to hear something very different, which is more empowering. And this is what Amanda Lambros, the speaker today, it's called mental wealth. So let me introduce a little bit more about Amanda. Amanda Lambros is actually a certified speaking professional and a relationship therapist with over 25 years of experience as a therapist and 15 years in the speaking industry. So as a creator of the mental wealth portfolio and also the author of multiple books, Amanda is actually here to help you future-proof your speaking career and also by investing in your greatest asset, which is your mental health. So with practical strategies to boost emotional resilience, energize your performance, and deepen your audience with connection, Amanda will show you how to sustain your influence and impact in an evolving world. She has spoken at global conferences and retreats, inspiring thousands with a dynamic evidence-based approach to personal and professional success. So let's get ready to amplify yourself and your speaking career. So let's please welcome Amanda Lambros.
There was a speaker study done 3 years ago now that actually said 80% of what we invest is into our business rather than into us. Now, if you are your best asset for your business, why would you not be investing in yourself? It's kind of backwards math, right? So this is what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the importance of actually investing in yourself. Now, a little bit of background is that I'm a therapist. So I see a lot of anxiety, I see a lot of depression, and I also see what the long-term effects of those are. But I also know that if we take a proactive instead of a reactive response to it, then you won't get into those traps of being depressed, being anxious, and all of that, okay? So that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at your most valuable asset. And then we're going to look at some of your very valuable resources to go with that valuable asset. Now, what we do know is the old way of doing speaking. So the old speaking way used to be hustle. Grind, hustle, get the gigs, work late nights, do your own slides. And a lot of speakers, as we know, are like the solopreneur. A lot of you do not have teams supporting you until you get to a different level of your speaking career, and that's when you usually branch out and get teams. So the old way absolutely was the hustle and bustle. You're running late nights, you're not sleeping as well, you're getting on an airplane. I loved it when people used to say to me, "Oh, Amanda, you get to travel the world, how amazing." Let me be very clear on this travel the world, pop the speaker bubble, okay? I get on an airplane, I fly to my destination, I get into a taxi or an Uber or a Grab or whatever it is in that country. I then get to a hotel. I can tell you where there's some fabulous hotels and when some are try to avoid. I then go to a conference room. I speak. I go back to my hotel room. I get back into an Uber and I get to an airport. That is the extent of a lot of countries I've seen. So I've physically been in a country, but I've genuinely never seen the country. And it wasn't until 5 years ago, I was actually traveling in Guam. So I traveled to do a one-day talk in Guam. And one of the ladies who was organizing the talk said, "Amanda, it's part of our custom to show you around. Can you please book 2 spare days?" I was like, "What? 2 whole days?" And she goes, "Yes, we will take you around our beautiful island for 2 full days and show you customary practices." I was like, yes, I will. So I got everything done out in the first day, which was lovely. And then the next 2 days was spent in home hospitality, essentially. They brought me to their local diners and everything like that, and it felt amazing. That was the point that I kind of went, maybe this self-care thing, like there's a little more to it than just getting on a plane and seeing an Uber and seeing a hotel room. So that used to be the old way, this hustle and bustle and grind. Now, there's a real thing called burnout. When do you think you actually reach burnout? When you're rushed, when you're stressed, when you're not taking breaks to take care of yourself? Absolutely. By the time you've hit burnout, it's a little too late. When you're like, "Oh, I'm feeling burnt out." Okay, great. You should have done something about that preventatively way long ago. So what I want to talk to you about, and this is where this comes into a little bit of interesting things. So ROI, a lot of people would look at the word ROI, return on investment, and go, that's a finance term. Let me be very clear. I am not in the finance field. My mother, however, has been for over 50 years, and I was raised by my mother. So through osmosis, I took on a lot of investment terms in my head, and I applied everything I know from a mental wealth perspective in finance, because this made sense. So there's this thing called accumulation. And compound interest. Let me tell you about compound interest. Now, if any of you have newborn children and you invest $10 a day, just $10, I got $10 up my sleeve, $10 a day for your newborn every day until they turn 18. With compound interest, they'll have $500,000. How many 18-year-olds have access to $500,000? But the investment started here. The challenge is a lot of people want here. So they're like at 18, if you said to your 18-year-old, hey babe, do you want $500,000? They'd be like, yes. And you're like, oh, sorry, I didn't start investing here. Mental wealth is the same thing. There's a compound interest. And so if you make deposits into your mental wealth account, you're going to have a great outcome. Now, what do deposits look like? What do you think mental wealth deposits should actually look like? Give me an idea. Say that again. Love it. Time out. Absolutely. And now it doesn't need to be 3 weeks of time out. It could be 10 minutes a day. Research shows all you need is 10 minutes a day to actually stay on top of your mental health and feel great and revitalized. What else do you need? What else are some other ideas that you can compound? Oh my goodness, sleep is wonderful. Yes. Now I'm very fortunate. I'm from Perth, so I'm on the same time zone. There are 40 speakers from 14 different countries, I think they said. In that case, there's a lot of people who are not on the same time zone. And so sleep is going to be a difficult thing for them over the weekend of the conference. And that's usually what's happened to us as speakers as well. When you're flying to somewhere, your sleep schedule gets a little knocked about because you're not on schedule. So it's how do you best manage that? Do you fly in a day early, depending on how many time zones you've gone? So I haven't gone any time zones. I didn't need to fly in a day early. But if someone's flying across 8 time zones, you might want to fly in a day or 2 early to get adjusted to the time zone to be your best version of yourself when you're presenting. So sleep's fabulous. What else? What are some fabulous investments we can do in ourselves? Breathing exercises. We will do one of those later on. You obviously looked at my presentation in advance. Got that? Yep. What else? Therapy. Talk about one of those brilliant investments. A lot of people, as a therapist, I'm a little bit biased, let me be honest about that, but a lot of people invest in therapy in crisis mode, not as preventative mode. As opposed to going in and seeing a therapist and going, hey, things are actually really great in my life. I would just like to learn some tools for when life throws me a curveball. Because let's pop that bubble. Life's throwing you curveballs over and over and over again. It's just whether or not you know how to hit them. Right? Whereas that's what a therapist will help you do. So all of these little bits of compound interest are really important because eventually you'll end up with a huge sum at the end, which is a great thing to do. Now, lottery. Anyone here play the lottery? There's a very big concept in Australia that if you win the lottery, it's usually big ones like $150 million or something like that. But you got to be in it to win it. That's like the little tagline, be in it to win it. Because if you're not playing the lottery, you have no chance of winning it. The chances of you winning it, you might as well not play it also. However, there's a really fascinating statistic that the people who win anything more than $1 million, so if you win $1.1 million, 70% of those people are likely to be broke within 3 years. Can you imagine winning $100 million and in 3 years having to tell your kids, sorry, we're broke? And the reason is, it's this old hustle and bustle. So I'm going to go and buy the cars, I'm going to go and buy the boat, I'm going to buy the big house. They don't think about, actually, if I just invest in something that pays dividends, I can live off of those dividends for a very, very long time. But it's knowing to invest in something that pays dividends in order to be able to live off of it. That's what I want you guys to be able to do as speakers. So there's 3 pillars that I want to talk about today. Those 3 pillars are emotional resilience, so what you're doing from an emotional resilience perspective, mindful energy management, because your energy as a speaker is your most important resource for your most awesome asset. Okay, so your energy is your most important resource. And then finally, authentic human connection, like being a real authentic person, like what you see is what you get. And so it's not like, oh, they're unapproachable, I can't go up to them. It used to be polished perfection instead of authenticity. Now the research that's come out is we want authenticity over polished perfection. So here's some fascinating statistics. To me, these blow my mind. Burnout affects 60% of high-performing professionals. What do you think you guys all are? You are those high-performing professionals. You have purposely chosen to step into a profession that is the number one fear for most of the world. You're like, yes, I want to stand on a stage in front of other people on purpose, right? So to me, this is really important. This stat says chances are you're more likely to be impacted by burnout. That's a wake-up call. If you're more likely to put yourself into a profession that is going to lead to burnout, you need to stay on top of your mental health. This one here, 83% of speakers report emotional exhaustion post-event. So it's like you walk out of your speaking thing, and then you're like, ugh. And you look forward to that plane ride home because that's where you're going to sleep and readjust to that post-exhaustion. So it's fine to be exhausted, but what are you doing to reconnect with that energy? So yes, you can go, I'm going to put all my energy into this presentation. That's lovely. Post-presentation, rather than being exhausted and then really getting down in your head, it's like, what am I going to do to lift myself up? Okay, what's those inputs that are then going to lead to those outputs? We're not going. Okay, so the influence that is really important is to pay attention to those three pillars and constantly think in your mind, how am I paying attention to those pillars? What I've created for you, your little speaker gift from me afterwards, is called a mental wealth passport. So it's a passport looking thing that you can print out and just check in with yourself. Am I actually in line with all of these things, and how do I invest in myself? So you can give yourself a little passport stamp along the way as we're traveling around the world. Give yourself some passport stamps to actually go, yes, I am investing in myself. So, oh my God, there's a spelling error. No, it's gone. Oh, welcome to PowerPoint. Welcome to PowerPoint from Canva. So we're going to talk about resilience. Yes, this is a moment of resilience, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about energy, and we're going to talk about connection. So, it's following me through all the way. This is great. I'm looking forward to this, right? So resilience is essentially another way of saying your bounce back. How do you take a hit and then bounce back from it? Wouldn't it be lovely if every single speaking proposal you ever wrote got accepted? You're right? You're like, hey, I'd like to talk at your thing. You're like, yeah, I'm talking at your thing too. You're like, yes, you are. This is not happening. No. The speaker report that was released by SpeakerFlow said that 80% of all of your proposals will be rejected. That's like a really nice kick to the guts. Right? But we get into this profession going, hey, every single proposal we're going to actually succeed and get that. So your resilience is, how do you bounce back afterwards? Do you know the stats in advance and go, that's cool, I'm going to submit 10 of them, knowing possibly only 2 are going to get approved? You're going in with the right mindset, as opposed to going in with the mindset of, I'm going to submit 10. All 10 of those are going to be approved. No, they won't. That is really going to damage your mindset, right? That's going to slippery slope you into depression. We don't want to do that. So we want to be realistic. So figure out how you bounce back from those hits. That's what resilience is all about. After resilience, we're going to look at energy management. What are the things you do? Now, I am going to say one of my biggest things that I do, I am a spa girl. I love spying. Not spying on people, I like spying. I like other people to touch me in a nice way, which sounds weird because usually I'm face down and naked, but they touch me and it's lovely. It's a great massage. Every now and then I flip over onto my back and then they facial something me, so these are the things. Spas are great. So what I tend to do is I do have a spa buddy, and my spa buddy and I have little adventures in a whole bunch of different spas, some great, some questionable, The most recent spa experience we had, they said, oh, listen, our spa lady isn't going to be there that day, but our massage therapist won't be there that day, but our cleaner is a very good masseuse. I was like, oh, okay, sure, it's a massage. I'm good with it. So my version of energy management is getting a spa. That is how I do it. I'm away from my family, I'm away from my distractions, I'm away from everything else, and it gives me an opportunity to hang out for half an hour, sometimes 2 hours, depending where I'm going, and recharge my batteries. What do you do to recharge your batteries, and how regularly are you doing it? Are you doing it once a week because you've put a whole bunch of effort into actually creating proposals, and now you actually have to take care of yourself? Or are you going, oh yeah, I do it every now and then? Oh, no. You need to time block this stuff. So just like they were talking about earlier today, it's find a way to time block this into your calendar. It becomes a non-negotiable. Whereas if it's not in your calendar, you're not going to remember to do it because other things, other priorities will get in the way, and you'll just kind of unfortunately fail to do this. The next is authentic communication. We absolutely crave connection with other people. It is brilliant for our brain. When you talk to people, use their first names if you know them. Be like, hey, Julia, how's it going? You know, those are authentic communication connections. So what are you doing to stay connected and be authentic with everyone you meet? So the first time they meet you, the second time they meet you, the third time they meet you, they're like, yeah, that's the same person all the way through. They haven't put on a front or a facade. They're like, that is the person that I know best. So also, how are you upkeeping those connections? Because it's lovely to go to a speaking gig and be like, thanks person who's organized this, event organizer, you're wonderful, Sally, great, you know, that kind of thing. And then you never speak to Sally again. Do you think Sally's going to be referring you to somebody else? Absolutely not. If you're wonderful to work with, more than likely you're going to get a referral elsewhere. Right? So stay connected to them. Now, welcome to the age of AI. This is what this convention is all about. We can now very productively use AI to create connection. Use your systems, your CRMs, to create automations that touch out to these people on a regular basis. It's still the email you wrote, maybe AI wrote it for you, but it's still the email that you wrote to say, hey, how are you doing, Joanne? Just wanted to reach out and say hi, right? So keep those connections up. Okay, so there's obviously some pillars that we need to pay attention to. There's resilience, there's energy, and there's connection. How are you staying in touch with each one of these? And chances are you're doing one of these brilliant. You are absolutely acing one of these areas, but there's maybe one of the areas that you're like, I didn't even think of doing that. I didn't even think of making that investment. I didn't think of actually putting it in my calendar and focusing on that. So it's how are you doing that? And also what's potentially getting in the way? So these are what I call your roadblocks. What is potentially getting in the way for you to do these fabulous things? Now, I know we're in Singapore, and I got asked by Eugene to give some Singaporean stats. There was a report that was actually released yesterday, so I read it late last night, because when I read this, I was like, oh my God, this is a big thing. So in Australia, we have this thing called absenteeism. And this is when people don't go to work because they're struggling with their mental health. Absenteeism in Australia costs Australia $11.8 billion with a B. $11.8 billion. They're like, you know what? I'm too stressed. I'm too burnt out. I just can't do it. I don't have the resilience or the capability to go back. I haven't taken care of myself to go back. And that's fine. But Singapore? Oh, let me tell you what it is. I wrote this down because I was like, what? You guys don't have a problem with absenteeism. I'm like, what? They just go to work? Yes, they keep going to work. They have a problem with what's called presenteeism, which is I am working while unwell. I'm like, what? At least Australians go tap out. I'm going home, staying at home. I'm taking a sickie. I'm going to go to the beach. You guys are like, nah, I'm going to work. I'm like, what? But you're working unwell. Working unwell costs Singapore $12.8 billion because you're distracted, you're not focused, and you're not creative. Now let's put that into speaker terms. If you are a speaker and you are not creative, You think you're getting the gigs you should be getting? Probably not. If you are low on your mental health and low on your motivation and low on your resilience, are you outputting what you really need to be outputting for people to see? That blew my mind. So those are billion-dollar numbers. Let me give you a trillion-dollar number, okay? The trillion-dollar number is the world economy. Like globally, we lose $2.5 trillion annually in lost productivity due to anxiety and depression. There's 1 billion people in this globe who are currently suffering with their mental health. And suffering with your mental health is not something you need to do. You absolutely can get on top of it and have fabulous outcomes if you're proactive instead of reactive. So Singaporeans, please don't do presenteeism. I'm gonna say, stick with the absenteeism. Go to the beach, go for a walk in your beautiful park, smell the orchids, but definitely don't be going to work sick or working unwell. So, one story that I wanted to share with you is that I had a client say to me, she was a speaker, and she came up to me and she said, Amanda, I just did something I probably shouldn't have done. I said, what did you do? She goes, it was my biggest speaking gig ever. She got paid $15,000. She said she was happy for me to share this. She got paid $15,000, huge crowd. I was like, I've never been in a crowd that big before. That's pretty awesome. So huge crowd. She was driving to this. She had just had some pretty bad news, but she didn't have a store. She did not have a mental reserve, which is what I want you all to have. That's that compound interest. Have the reserve available to you. So she got some bad news on the way to a gig. Halfway to the gig, she went, I can't do this. She turned around and she went back home, and then she stayed in bed for a week before she then made a call and reached out to someone and said, I think I'm struggling. How it came to her purview that she was struggling was someone reached out to her and said, we haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on? So it took somebody else noticing, you're not quite the way you normally are. I'm going to reach out to you and say, what's going on? And she said, I'm really, really struggling. They said, maybe you should talk to someone. She reached out to me. She said, Amanda, I feel so embarrassed. I don't even want to go and see a therapist because I don't want them to think I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, no, that's a perfect time. And a therapist isn't going to judge you. It's wonderful. That's what we want to do. Okay? So that to me was, okay, well, what are you doing? So I did a mental check-in with her. What are you doing with your energy reserves? What are the breaks you're taking? And what does it look like for everyone is totally unique. You guys are unique. Therefore, the things you do are unique. One of my favorite things, other than spying, one of my favorite things to do is get a fresh cup of coffee in the morning. I have a beautiful coffee machine. I wake up before my husband and children, and I make myself a coffee when everything is nice and quiet, sometimes at sunrise. Very rarely am I up before sunrise on purpose. And so sometimes at sunrise, I sit in a beautiful egg chair, and I drink my coffee by myself in solitude. It's like serenity. It's lovely. But that's all it takes. It's a 10-minute coffee. And if you start your day that way, it almost leads to positivity throughout the day. That's how I'm banking my day. So think about, what am I doing throughout my day to have that compound interest? What's paying me the dividends at the end of every month to make me go, yeah, I got plenty up my sleeve to be able to do next month. So how are you taking care of yourself? One of the most important things we can do, now I'm giving you a few different takeaways that you can do. These are really simple. 5-minute energy reset exercise, whatever that looks like to you. Mine happens to be a 10-minute coffee. You could do yoga. You could do a standing pose. You could go sit outside by yourself. You could do an exercise class in 5 minutes if you want to. There's like little micro bits, right? 10-minute daily mental check-in. It might be journaling. There's a whole bunch of different things that you can do. And then some self-care scheduling as a non-negotiable. If it's in your calendar, like I flew to Singapore, so that was blocked out in my calendar. If someone said, oh, Amanda, can we have a meeting? No, I'm physically on an airplane. It's in my calendar, so you can't block it out with any other meetings. That's what the blocking in your calendar is so important for. So what we're gonna do, if possible, I'd like to see everybody stand up. If you have the capacity to stand up, please stand up. And you don't need anything in your hands. Put all your hand stuff down. One of the best things you can do is breathe. Here's a scary statistic. 80% of us are not breathing right. We're breathing, clearly, you're all standing here, but we're not breathing right. Breathing right is actually filling up all of your lung. We breathe shallow. When we breathe shallow, we're not training our lungs to stay healthy for the rest of our lives. That's an important thing because as you age, your lungs are more susceptible to getting sick. We don't want that to happen, okay? So to breathe right, one of the best things you can do is called box breathing. The other reason box breathing is fabulous is it because it activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's a very fancy way of saying, hey, body, I'm in control right now. So whenever you're having like maybe some anxious or some butterflies, like, oh, I'm about to go on stage, I don't know if I can do it, do some box breathing. It's your body telling your mind, I got this, we're good. So box breathing is called box breathing because you're going to mentally draw a box. So you're going to breathe in for 4 seconds. We're going to hold it for 4 seconds. We're going to breathe out for 4 seconds, and we're going to hold it for 4 seconds. So you're going to draw a box. Ready? We're going to draw. I'm going to guide you in drawing a box. Ready? Okay, here you go. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's one box. One box. Ideally, when you're doing this, you want to do 4 boxes. So that really kind of says, yo, seriously, body, I am in charge. Now, if you have the capacity, I would say close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, because we're going to move you to be very authentic from your head to your heart. It's a very, very far 12 centimeters. Okay, so we're going to move you 1 foot from your head to your heart. Close your eyes if you have the capacity, and we're going to do 2 more box breathings. Okay, breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. One more. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4. Hold it. 2, 3, 4. Your voice as speakers is powerful. Your mind is priceless. So invest wisely in your most important asset. Thank you. Okay, so for therapy, it's a matter of just going to talk to someone. So there's really great research that it can be just talk therapy. So reaching out to somebody and having a conversation and just getting all the stuff that collectives up here, you know, like all the stuff that you have the mental load. There's stuff going on up here, and it's like, who do I talk to? You get to talk to a therapist who's a sounding board, who you just kind of get it out. They're non-judgmental. And then they go, okay, cool. They might guide you and say, now what are you going to do with this? And so you don't necessarily need to see a therapist who specializes in cognitive behavioral therapy. You can actually, the research shows, as long as you're talking to a therapist or a health professional, it usually is a great opportunity to clear out your mind. Thank you. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do happen to have a spa buddy, and let me tell you, the cleaning lady was a great masseuse, and the real spa lady was not. She was terrible. She was terrible, but the cleaning lady was wonderful.
All right, thanks, Amina, once again for her sharing. I think that's a very good reminder for us that we should invest a lot into our personal mental wealth, actually, right? So let's give her a round of applause.